From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at Noon, streaming now.
And thanks for joining us here on WRTV. I'm Lauren Casey. Todd Clausen is standing by from home this midday. Todd, I haven't stepped outside yet since we were last chatting during the morning show, but I'm going to guess it's a little bit more of the same from what we've had the last few days. Dry anyways, right?
You know, it's exactly the same, Lauren. We had a little bit of cloud cover to start the day, which was somewhat of a change, but that is now burned off, and we're left with nothing but sunshine out there, and that's the way it's going to be throughout the entire day today. Here's a live look from downtown to the north, and you can see that there is not a cloud in the sky. As far as temperatures with the sunshine, we've seen them climb from where they were this morning in the 50s, now up to highs that are currently sitting in the 60s and 70s, and with that sunshine and light winds and low humidity, we'll continue to see these temperatures warm. Now, a few of you in southern locations this morning were lucky enough to get into some showers down towards Bedford and Bloomfield and into the Seymour area. The rest of central Indiana was completely dry, and you can see those clouds are moving out, and they're all part of tropical storm, or what was tropical storm Beta, that is down to the south. It's going to continue to push off towards the east. We will not get any additional rainfall for the day today from that system as temperatures climb up into the 80s. So we continue to run over 2 inches below normal in Bloomington as well as Indianapolis. We do have some rain chances in our extended forecast. We'll let you know when they arrive coming up in just a few minutes. Lauren.
Todd, thank you. So even as we slowly try and come back during this pandemic, the number of Hoosiers out of work remains high. New numbers from the Department of Labor are out. They show that more than 12,000 Hoosiers filed for regular unemployment benefits last week. That is down slightly from the previous week, but still at elevated levels. Almost 12,000 additional Hoosiers filed for pandemic unemployment assistance last week, while another 7,700 filed for pandemic emergency compensation. It's now official. Walmart will be hiring Hoosiers soon to work in Hancock County. Walmart says it's finalized plans to build its largest e-commerce fulfillment center in the U.S. It will be more than 2 million square feet, and it will be located at County Roads 500 North and 500 West outside of McCordsville. Walmart says it will spend $600 million to build this new facility, and the company says it will create up to 1,000 new jobs over the next 5 years. Construction is scheduled to begin soon. Now to the latest on the coronavirus. COVID-19 numbers rose slightly according to the State Department of Health. Today, the department is reporting 920 new positive tests and 17 additional deaths. The statewide positive rate is holding steadily at the 7-day average is 3.9% for all COVID-19 tests and 6.6% for unique individuals. Well, the COVID-19 pandemic has forced the cancellation of a big holiday event in Madison County. Today, the Pendleton Business Association announced that this year's Christmas in Pendleton event would not take place. It had been scheduled for November 14th, and it's the traditional kickoff to the holiday season in Pendleton. There's usually a parade, an appearance from Santa, crafts, and a lighting of a Christmas tree. The Pendleton Business Association says it will not be able to meet the COVID-19 guidelines this year to ensure everyone's safety. And the varsity and JV football teams at Bloomington North High School will not be playing this weekend after one player tests positive for COVID-19. That school's principal says the player and his close contacts are now in quarantine. Tomorrow's home game against Jeffersonville has been canceled, as is the JV game on Saturday against Jeffersonville. The school has not determined the status of their October 2nd game at Roncalli. And we now know that more COVID-19 restrictions will be lifted across the state of Indiana on Saturday. Governor Holcomb announced that the state would move to stage 5 of his Back on Track plan to bring the state's businesses back online. That means size limitations will be removed for social gatherings and meetings. Restaurants and bars may open at full capacity, but social distancing must be maintained between tables. Gyms and fitness centers may resume normal operations, but organizers of events of more than 500 people need to still get approval from their local health department. Also, the state's mask mandate will remain in effect for at least the next 3 weeks. You must submit a written plan again to the health department if you have any other events. Face coverings, those are still required when social distancing isn't possible. And again, at all those establishments, you must maintain social distancing.
I just want to take 10 seconds to say thank you, because we don't do this without adjusting our daily lives and our routines and how we interact with one another, how we are physically separating ourselves more than in the normal times, how we're washing our hands, how we're masking up. All those actions have an effect on our overall performance as a state of Indiana, county by county, community by community.
And so we are still waiting to learn whether Marion County will also ease restrictions. You may remember they've been on tighter guidelines than the state because of the higher number of coronavirus cases. Well, Holcomb's Democratic opponent in the upcoming election called the move to stage 5 the wrong step. Woody Meyer says the state needs more vigilance against COVID-19, not less. He says, quote, Hoosiers are still dying from COVID-19, are experiencing economic collapse, and Black and Latinx families are 2 times more likely than white households to have fallen behind on house payments, end quote. Well, we know school attendance, it can be a real challenge with many students still learning remotely. So to help, a Northside High School is finding a new way to keep families on track. Teachers at Ace Preparatory Academy Charter School start the day with a Zoom check-in before class starts. If a student is missing, a whole team is dedicated to reaching out and making sure students are logging on to learn.
We have a repurposed staff that typically work with scholars within the building but are not classroom teachers. So these would be instructional assistants or some of our cultural behavior specialists, and they are now family liaisons. And so they serve as kind of a second line of attack, so to speak, when it comes to providing supports to families for attendance.
Well, teachers at ACE say that some small changes like a new phone number can cause a disconnect between the school and the students during this virtual learning. 70% of students will be able to return to the classroom in October. A decision has been made by a grand jury, but the fallout from the Breonna Taylor police shooting case is not over. Next, how Louisville is bracing for more protests throughout the weekend. Todd.
And Lauren, temperatures have been running at or above normal this entire week, and we're currently sitting in the 60s and 70s. Well, we're going to take the 70s and tack on a few degrees for the weekend and bring the temperatures all the way up into the 80s. We'll talk all about the weekend forecast, followed by the big chill next week. It's all coming up when the News at Noon continues right here on WRTV.
Welcome back. The protests were peaceful here in central Indiana and other cities throughout our country, but that was not the case in Louisville following a grand jury's decision not to charge 3 police officers in connection with the shooting death of Breonna Taylor back in March. ABC's Trevor Alt is in Louisville as that city gets ready for more demonstrations tonight.
Outraged protesters taking to the streets in Louisville Wednesday night, demanding justice for Breonna Taylor in the wake of a grand jury decision not to charge any of the officers in her killing. Demonstrators setting multiple fires, dozens of people arrested, 2 Louisville police officers shot, both hospitalized. The governor deploying the National Guard, a state of emergency declared by the city's mayor, and a 72-hour curfew put in place. Those protests quickly spreading across the country, most of them peaceful, but some cities seeing pockets of violence, including Portland, Oregon, and Buffalo, New York. The unrest following the Kentucky Attorney General's announcement of the grand jury's decision that Taylor's death, while tragic, did not warrant criminal charges against the officers.
According to Kentucky law, the use of force by Mattingly and Cosgrove was justified to protect themselves.
Former Officer Brett Hankerson was charged with 3 counts of first-degree wanton endangerment, not for firing the shots that killed Breonna Taylor, but for recklessly shooting into a neighboring apartment. The Attorney General says the 2 other officers involved in that botched March 13th raid, Detective Miles Cosgrove, who shot 16 times, and Sergeant John Mattingly, who shot 6 times, were justified in firing their weapons because they were returning fire from Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker. The Attorney General also declined for now to release the grand jury report or reveal any details about the grand jury itself, raising questions about the racial makeup of the group.
There seems to be 2 justice systems in America, one for white America and one for black America.
The Taylor family settling a civil suit with the city just last week, now saying the charges fall far short of what constitutes justice.
She had every right to be in her apartment living and breathing and not be shot and killed by the police.
While both officers shot last night were taken to the hospital, police say neither of them suffered life-threatening injuries. One suspect has been taken into custody in this shooting. Trevor Ault, ABC News, Louisville, Kentucky.
Trevor, thank you. Well, they have paid their penalty, and that means they get an important right back to them. So next, we'll show you how a group is making sure that people know their rights ahead of Election Day. Let's take a live look outside right now. This is our Weather Now camera here in the downtown area, overlooking some blue, clear skies. Todd Clausen will look ahead to the rest of your day and the rest of your week into the weekend. That's coming up here when the News at Noon continues.
This is how you can start to get on the right path to begin to grow.
And that right path for some people begins with registering to vote. Marion County's Office of Public Health and Safety went to the Marion County Jail over the weekend to register inmates who qualify to vote under Indiana law. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker explains how this push is personal for the woman who leads the effort.
This is not work for me. This is my passion.
That's Carlette Duffy on her role as Director of Reentry for the Office of Public Health and Safety.
Doing this kind of work, even on a volunteer basis in the community, had more of an impact on me than any type of other employment that I could have been doing.
Part of her work takes her to the jails in Marion County. On Saturday, she and her team helped eligible inmates register to vote.
They were very excited to do it, and it made them feel like they are a part of the process. Because for each person that came through, we thank them for allowing their voice to be heard.
Making sure the voiceless can find their voice is something very personal to Carlette.
Being the first director of reentry who has a criminal history and who was incarcerated. So in talking to them, I let them know I was where you are right now.
And she wouldn't be leading these efforts if it wasn't for the process of voting.
I was able to expunge my criminal history, and that is through legislation. That is through legislatures who were put in place because we vote.
Carlette tells me the work she's doing is so more people who are in situations like she was in have more opportunities to change their lives for the better.
My goal and my efforts are to do whatever I can in my capacity to lay a trail for those coming behind me that will make their walk a little easier.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
Well, we have everything you need to know about registering to vote and casting your ballot this election year. Just go to Vote in 2020, the digital section of our website, WRTV.com. All right, let's take a turn to our forecast right now. It's Thursday, Todd. A lot of people may want to get outside, go for a walk. Plenty of time to do that today, right?
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a beautiful afternoon here, Lauren, all across the area. We need rainfall. I know we need rainfall. But these sunny days and the mild temperatures aren't all that bad. Here is where we are right now as far as where the rainfall sits. We only had 400ths of an inch of rain in the last 36 days. So that takes us all the way back, obviously, into August. And so we're running at 2.34 inches below average. That number is going to go up come tomorrow because look at the sky today. It is nothing but sunshine out there across the area. And that's the way it's going to stay from this point forward. So anything you want to do outdoors, you are just A-OK to do. And with that sunshine, temperatures have been warming up into the 60s and 70s across the area. And by the next hour, everybody should make that jump up into the 70-degree range for us. This afternoon, here is your temperature trend, about 76 degrees at 4 p.m. I think we get up to about 77 for our afternoon high. And then this evening, temperatures will start to cool off into the 60s pretty quickly once the sun sets. So it's been very pleasant in the afternoon hours and then cooler in the evening hours where you need to have the light jacket handy as soon as that sun starts to set. Now, we started off with some rain showers this morning down in Bedford, Nashville, Seymour, but those have moved out. We all had clouds this morning, but those are moving out as well, as you can see. That's why from this point forward, we're just going to enjoy the sunshine. It was close with the rain. We got into southern sections, but the bulk of the rain stayed down to our south, and that's going to move off towards the east, and so that will not impact us here any further. That is the remnants of Tropical Storm Beta. If you were wondering, that's going to slide off to the east coast. 69 by 8 p.m., 66 degrees, your 9 p.m. temperature. And then as we look ahead to Friday and your weekend, tomorrow's a great day. We start off in the mid-50s. Mostly sunny skies. We get the high temperature up to 80 degrees in the afternoon hours tomorrow. And that just starts a warming trend that's going to take us into the weekend as well. Saturday, 84, very summer-like. That 84 is about 10 degrees above average for this time of year. Then Sunday, 83, with a spot storm chance late in the afternoon hours and more so the evening. Sunday's rain event, potentially just some spotty showers. Nothing really to write home about. But as we get into Monday and Tuesday, more potent area of low pressure is going to drop out of Canada, and that's going to bring cooler and breezy conditions to the area. So as you look at your 7-day planning forecast here, again, it starts off summer-like through Sunday. Then that first front comes through on Monday, dropping us to 72. That second front brings better rain chances Tuesday and Wednesday and takes the temperature all the way down to 62 degrees for your high on Wednesday. So almost going from 84 down to 62 on Wednesday. So that's a 22-degree drop in high temperatures in almost just a couple days. And most of next week, Lauren, looks like it's going to have that fall-like feel with highs in the 60s and low temperatures that'll be in the 40s.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Well, President Trump will announce his nominee for the Supreme Court vacancy in 2 days. The frontrunner appears to be a federal appeals court judge from right here in Indiana. Amber Strong with our partners at Newsy has more on the background of Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
When it comes to President Trump's pick for a Supreme Court nominee,
they're all outstanding, but I have one or two that I have in mind.
Amy Coney Barrett is said to be atop the list. If the name sounds familiar, it's because the former Notre Dame law professor has been here before. Barrett was a top contender to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy. However, that spot ended up going to Brett Kavanaugh. But before her consideration for the High Court, the Louisiana native and former Scalia clerk was nominated to the Court of Appeals.
When you read your speeches, the conclusion one draws is that the dogma lives loudly within you.
She was confirmed, but her critics in the Senate feared Barrett would not uphold the precedent of laws like Roe v. Wade due to past statements on her Catholic faith and a 1998 article she co-wrote saying Catholic judges are morally precluded from enforcing the death penalty.
I'm being considered for a position in a court of appeals, and there would be no opportunity to be a no vote on Roe. And as I said to the committee, I would faithfully apply all Supreme Court precedent.
She went on to say her faith, quote, would not bear on the discharge of my duties as a judge. Since her appointment to the Chicago-based 7th Circuit Court of Appeals, Barrett joined the dissent in a case involving an Indiana law signed by Mike Pence when he was the governor. That law banned abortions motivated by disabilities like Down syndrome. It was deemed unconstitutional. However, the dissenting judge joined by Barrett wrote, quote, using abortion to promote eugenic goals is morally and prudentially debatable. Now, that dogma comment from Senator Feinstein was a galvanizing moment for many conservatives who saw it as a religious litmus test. Many of those same groups are throwing their support behind Barrett's nomination today. Amber Strong, Newsy, Northern Virginia.
All right, well, we know New Year's Eve is going to look a lot different this year, just like the rest of 2020 has. So we'll show you a big change for a big event coming up next, plus one final check of your forecast. Stick around, you're watching WRTV. So how appropriate is it that the year 2020 will end virtually? Yeah, organizers in New York say that the annual Times Square New Year's Eve ball drop will be virtual this year. That means no massive crowds on the streets of New York, no public kisses, no awkward interviews on live TV. Yeah, while the ball will drop, what will be called virtually enhanced celebration will take place. And the Times Square Alliance says that there will be some small scaled back events using social distancing, of course. What that will exactly look like, that has yet to be determined. And Todd, you're kind of from that area. I always think there's no way you could get me to stand out there in the cold for that many hours before the ball drops, but I know some people enjoy it. I like to watch it.
Growing up in New Jersey, some people loved it. They made it a yearly tradition. I'm with you, though. I'd rather be at a friend's house in the warmth or in my own home watching that ball come down. But to each their own, right? Warm summer-like temperatures through the weekend, then much cooler next week. Next best chance of rain does not arrive from Monday night into Tuesday. And even then, it looks like it's just going to be a spot shower or two with no significant rain heading our way. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks. And thank you for joining us and making WRTV your choice for news. Come back here for the news at 5. Have a great Thursday afternoon.